Richard Childress just broke his silence on NASCAR, telling Cleetus McFarland he can't race at Talladega. And honestly, the story of how he got here, what Richard Childress actually said behind closed doors, and what people inside the garage are really whispering is way more interesting than any clickbait headline. How did a YouTube car guy with a massive internet following end up driving a legendary machine, only to get stonewalled by the highest authorities in the sport? The journey presents a fascinating underdog versus establishment narrative that has completely divided the racing community. So, let's start from the beginning. It all began with a seemingly adventurous phone call from Ty Dillon, offering Cleetus the incredible opportunity to step into a professional stock car. But there was a catch. He had to prove he possessed the maturity and the raw talent to handle the beastly machines without causing a massive wreck that could ruin the day for championship contenders. Cleetus, whose real name is Garrett Mitchell, has always harbored the dream of competing at the highest levels of motorsports, turning his viral stunts into legitimate late models experience. But the Cup Series and the ARCA Menard Series are entirely different animals compared to Freedom Factory exhibition races. Almost immediately after the deal was announced, the backlash began. Traditionalists in the sport were blunt in their assessment. Industry veterans like Kyle Petty and Kyle Busch expressed serious doubts, questioning whether an internet celebrity deserved a seat that young. Grinding drivers spend their entire lives chasing. They feared his presence would turn a serious competition into a circus. And podcast hosts like Freddie Kraft pointed out the immense danger of putting an inexperienced driver on high-speed tracks, where one wrong move could tragically alter a career. Despite the intense scrutiny, Cleetus remained respectful, dedicating his upcoming performance to the racing legend Greg Biffle, an emotional tribute that showed he understood the weight of the opportunity. Now, the big weekend finally came, and it was a dramatic mix of surprising highs and terrifying lows. In the ARCA Menard Series, Cleetus shocked his critics by driving a clean, smart race. He listened closely to his spotter, maintained his racing line, and proved he could run in the pack without causing chaos. But when he transitioned to the much more demanding O'Reilly Series, the harsh reality of professional motorsports set in. The truck was loose, the aerodynamic wash was intense, and Cleetus struggled to find his rhythm. He spun out, slid across the asphalt, and later admitted he felt like he almost died 10 times during the race. Surviving a live pit stop and navigating the treacherous corners required a level of split second precision he was just beginning to grasp. He had to shift into conservation mode just to keep the vehicle in one piece, ultimately managing to complete 244 of the 250 laps. While he didn't set the world on fire with his speed, keeping the car relatively clean under that much pressure was a victory in itself. Then came the real talk from inside Richard Childress Racing. Everyone was waiting to hear what the Hall of Fame team owner thought of this grand experiment. Richard Childress is known for being a fiercely competitive, no-nonsense legend who protects the integrity of his equipment and his brand. When Childress finally spoke out, his words were surprisingly measured. He acknowledged the incredible viewership bump Cleetus brought to the broadcast, with ratings up nearly 10%, proving the undeniable commercial value of bridging the gap between digital creators and traditional motorsports. Danny Lawrence and other RCR insiders echoed this sentiment, noting that while Cleetus lacked the polished racecraft of a seasoned veteran, his work ethic and humility earned their respect. Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Mark Martin also weighed in, offering a nuanced perspective that validated both the critics and the supporters. They recognized that while Cleetus might not be ready to trade paint with the elites at Superspeed, his willingness to learn and his respectful attitude toward the garage commanded a certain level of admiration. And then came the big decision. Despite the massive financial and promotional upside, NASCAR officials looked at the data, reviewed the harrowing spins from the weekend, and officially denied Cleetus the approval to run at Talladega. For a track where cars run inches apart at 200 miles per hour, the sanctioning body decided the risk of an inexperienced driver triggering a catastrophic multiple-car wreck was simply too great. It was a crushing blow to the YouTube star's dream, a stark reminder of the uncompromising standards required to compete at the pinnacle of stock car racing. However, instead of lashing out or claiming the system was rigged against him, Cleetus handled the rejection with remarkable grace. He released a statement acknowledging his physical on track, struggles, and expressing gratitude for the chance to even sit in the driver's seat. He didn't let the denial ruin his passion for the sport. Instead, he used it as a humbling learning experience. This level of maturity completely shifted the narrative. The very fans and insiders who initially wrote him off as an adventurous, reckless interloper suddenly found themselves defending his character. He proved that he wasn't just there to capture crazy footage for a vlog. He was there because he genuinely loved the sport and wanted to test his limits against the best in the world. The entire saga highlights a fascinating crossroads for professional racing. On one side, you have the traditional merit-based path, where drivers spend decades honing their craft on short tracks, fighting for every inch of respect. On the other side, you have modern media powerhouses who can bring millions of new eyes, vital sponsorships, and a massive surge of youthful energy to a sport that desperately needs it. Cleetus McFarland's journey, with all its chaotic spins, emotional highs, and blunt industry pushback, served as the ultimate stress test for this new paradigm. Richard Childress saw the vision, took the gamble, and ultimately walked away with a profound understanding of what this new generation of creators can offer. This clearly proves the racing landscape is changing extremely fast. The real question is whether NASCAR and RCR can find the right balance, allowing unconventional talents to grow without compromising the safety and prestige of the grid, or if the establishment will forever keep the gates closed to outsiders who are just taking the opportunity in front of them.